On this day in Telebobbyland, we have come to celebrate. Let us first bow our heads as we give thanks for this meal and for Bobby's ministry. Steve Kelly will be leading us in our blessing.
Let's bow together. Gracious and loving God, you've been with us every moment of our lives. There's never been a time when your presence hasn't surrounded us and encompassed us and loved us. We come tonight to celebrate and honor the one who has been your servant these many years. We ask that you be with us. We're thankful for the food, for the hands that have prepared it. We ask that you help us to receive it, that we may go strong in your service and serve you all the days of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Look, here comes Lala and her friend. I bet they're going to sing some of Bobby's favorite hymns before we eat.
Welcome to Telebobbyland. We're so glad you're here and we're going to sing, but I don't think I can sing hymns and tell a voice because I think it'll be a little sacrilegious, so I'm going to be normal. So, I don't think I could do that in that voice. Your song sheets are on your tables. We're going to sing first verses of these 4 hymns. Let's start with 117, O God, our help in ages past.
You can eat now, Bobby. And the rest follow suit. Enjoy your meal.
We've got some folks tonight that want to express appreciation to Bobby and Joanne and who they are and what they've done over the years. And our first guest tonight is Paul White from Alexandria. Paul? I know you're here somewhere. I saw you. There you go. And I've got your notes up here, and Rosemary's going to be over there someplace if you'll give them to. And they said, just a minute. Can you do it?
There's no way I can talk just a minute about Bobby Potter. Let me tell you how Bobby got here. This is a real long story, but I think it's worth hearing. Bobby was our associate pastor when he first came out of SMU back in 1954, if I remember right. And he was there 2 years with Henry Bowden, senior. And he preached at night because no one would let him preach in the daytime. And we had a night service every Sunday night. We had a choir. Well, Bobby preached maybe for about 4 or 5 months. He decided that he made a terrible mistake. He asked my wife to critique his sermon. That was bad news, and really let him know what he needed to do. We go Sunday night, we'd go eat ice cream or something after service. And so one night we got through a Sunday night, and he said, well, what'd you think? She looked him in the eye and she said, have you thought about another profession? And from that day on, he's done a little bit better as he's gotten along. And that's how he became district superintendent of Shreveport District. He never would have made it otherwise. But Bobby thought he was a great softball player. And we had a softball team. And I think he played second base. Just like always, he wanted to manage, but he can't manage either. And he never could manage. And so we played softball, and I'm kind of competitive. Then I kind of get in arguments with umpires and stuff. And one night we had a big argument. My uncle was the umpire. And he threw me out of the ballpark. And Bobby got a big kick out of that, but that's how spirits in softball. Now, he's a great, great golfer. We've been playing golf for how many years, Bobby? 20, 21, 22 years. Well, Bobby hits the ball. He doesn't play golf. He hits golf. And we've played, I guess, for 24 years, off and on, several times a year. And he's always wanted to beat me. I'm a sorry golfer, too. He's always wanted to beat me. He has never beat me. Not ever. We went to North Carolina one time about 4 years ago. We played in the snow. Well, the next day, it was pretty weather, we played. We got through on the 17th hole. Bobby was 2 strokes ahead of me. He was the happiest person I have ever seen in my life. And he looks to me and says, well, I'm going to beat you finally. So we tee off on the 18th hole. Bobby double bogeys and I birdie. And so I beat him 1 stroke. He still hasn't beat me, but he's learning slowly, and maybe Larry and Jack can teach him how to swing a club. But I did bring a present for him, and I think I'll give it to him now if I have time. It's over there on the table. Let me get it just a minute. I don't want to upstage anybody by presence, but these are the clubs I used to beat Bobby for 25 years. And so I'm going to give them to Bobby Potter tonight.
You're going to give us a demonstration on how to hit them?
No, they're for a left-handed person.
You're not buying any new fishing equipment anytime soon, are you? Okay, our next guest is Pat Davis from Henning Church in Sulphur. Just come up here and read what you wrote.
Well, Bobby, I didn't know I was going to have this opportunity to do this. Actually, I don't think I'll tell you what I wrote. I think I thought of some other things. Don Hall came after Bobby, and I happened to be up at the church one day, and he was in the kitchen showing the janitor how to make the coffee, because Bobby had gone to the church every day and made the coffee. And he said, he was explaining to the janitor, now you really need to do this because it's really not the minister's responsibility. But I think the thing that I love most about Bobby is that he would always tell me what he thought was the truth, and he would always be straightforward with it. He never told me what I wanted to hear, and I don't know, I'm sure you've all had that experience of going to see somebody and they telling you what you want to hear, and they don't tell you what they feel is the right thing. They just say what you want to hear, and I could always count on Bobby to tell me the way he felt, and I really appreciate that most about him.
Now we've got Charles and Betty Wilson from Christ Church here in Shreveport. From Vivian, by the way. Go, man, go!
Wow, what can you say about Bob Potter that he hadn't said about himself already? He is, some of you don't know that Bob in his early years, he was in some other professions. In fact, twice he ran for local political office. Both times he ran unopposed and was defeated. Then he finally got into the ministry.
Which is not a political office.
But he's a very popular, he's really a very popular person, and I appreciate that. In fact, he's claimed by 2 states. Texas claims he's from Louisiana, and Louisiana claims he's from Texas. Some of you don't know that Bob had a few problems last year. He went to the doctor, and the doctor told him that he wanted to get in better physical condition. He wanted him to start running 10 miles every day. Said it'd be good for his sex life. But 2 weeks later, Bob calls the doctor. The doctor said, "You're running 10 miles every day?" He said, "Yeah." The doctor said, "How's your sex life?" He said, "How would I know?" He said, "How would I know? I'm 140 miles from home." But he's doing a lot better now. He's diversifying his portfolio. He's recently gotten into precious metals. I saw him out on I-20 last week picking up aluminum cans. But our family, we go back a long time with Bob and Joanne. Our children grew up together at the Cedar Grove Methodist Church. It was just a wonderful time in our life. And 25 years ago in Cedar Grove Methodist Church, Bob married our daughter Renee and Terry Robinson, and they're on the way here now from Texas to be with us this weekend. I've always admired several of Bob's qualities when he helps and works with the people in the church. One of those things is that he just knows how to get to the heart of the problem. When a situation arises, he has the ability to focus on it, to bring out a solution for you and get the job done, Bob. And we appreciate you over all these years, and glad you're going to be in Shreveport, that you can have some nice parties out your home and invite us all out.
Now we got Harold and Peggy Kerr from St. Andrews in New Orleans. Thank you, Joyce. I love you too. Don't bring, okay. Huh? They are? Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Flipped a coin and you lost. Oh, you won? Okay.
I won, yeah. I won, but Harold wrote the little letter, and it was a privilege to have written it. It says, "Dear Bob and Joanne, it's been our pleasure to know both of you for some 42 years. We were at St. Andrews when it just first started, and it was even before Bob came, and then when he came, then we got the church built. That was in 1958, something like that. And their Jimmy and our Steve were the same age, and our Kathy and your Penny were the same age. We even swapped babysitting so that we'd have an afternoon of Santa every now and then. It was really great. But we were part of that group to help establish St. Andrew's United Methodist Church in New Orleans, which we recall was your first church after serving as an associate pastor. We learned a lot together, and we're privileged to have you as our spiritual leader at that time, and to have Joanne as our very talented vocalist. We remember from St. Andrew's, even to this day, the following. Saturday was the day to clean up the church. We couldn't afford to hire it done. Sunday school classes were held in various of our homes. We laid out with borrowed surveying instruments and built the sidewalks for the church. Partitions for the Sunday school classes were on wheels and were rolled away so that we could use that same space for our church services. Most of all, we remember Bob's visits to our house every Thursday night about 9 p.m. to bring the bulletin data to be run off for the Sunday service. We didn't have a duplicating machine at that, so Harold took it to his office and did them at his office so that we'd have them ready for Sunday morning. But mostly what we remember about that and those weekly visits were the theological discussions while Bob rocked in our rocking chair. It spurred us to do quite a bit of study and has enriched our lives in ways that we just never could have known otherwise. We've always thought of Bob as seminary material, as a professor, and that's a compliment to the depth and interest of his sermons at that very early time in his long career. Our paths haven't crossed often enough in the last 38 years, but we've followed with keen interest both of your accomplishments. And we say, congratulations, O good and faithful servants. Our best wishes in retirement.
Thank you, Peggy. Then we got Daphne and Elder Drum, also from New Orleans.
It's very hard to say no to Bob Potter. I'm sure everybody here knows that, who knows Bob. We have had the pleasure of knowing he and Joanne at two churches, St. Andrew's in eastern New Orleans and also Mulholland Methodist Church. But I'll start with St. Andrew's. I'd been there maybe a couple of years. My daughter was 3 years old, and I get this call from Bob, and he says, we need to start a nursery school. And I said, oh, but I don't think. He said, no, you're not teaching now. You're retired, but we need to start this. I don't know if you remember all this, Bob. And so, of course, I usually do this. I say things like, I tell my husband when I leave home, I'm not going to do that. And when I come back, I've already said, yes, I will. So together, we started a nursery school, the only church nursery school that we had, and the only really nursery school that we had on our side of town. We started with with 2 rooms. I was director and teacher, and we had one other wonderful little old lady who was helping me teach. And so we built that school from maybe 14 children to a thriving school. It had about 95 when I left, and it's still thriving, and so we owe all that. And that part of town owed all that really to Bob and his knowing that we needed this. And so I was glad to be a part of that. And I wrote in my letter in here that Bob and I didn't always agree on everything that went on with the nursery school, but we always had our discussions, and it was always for the betterment of the school, and I think we did a good job, and Bob was instrumental in that. We also had the pleasure of having Bob again at Mulholland. I'll never forget the night we were at Piccadilly. There was this other gentleman who came over, and he said, have you heard what happened? Someone, I can't remember the minister who was coming, I know Bob does, is not going to be able to come, and somebody named Bobby Potter's coming. And we went, Bobby Potter, we can't believe it, how exciting. And he said, you know him? And we said, yes, we do know him, and we're thrilled to death. And so he said, well, that makes me feel good too. He was on the, so we have had the pleasure of having them with us for 2 years, and we wanted to, for two parts of our church life, and we want to tell you how much we appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm in a state of shock. Somebody disagrees with Bobby Potter? You! Have you got enough for him to do? Okay, good. Lastly, we have a note from Pat Jackson, who was not able to be here, a member of Bob's church in Ponchatoula, or Bobby. Said Bob and Joanne Potter were a breath of fresh air for our church in Ponchatoula. My first encounter with Bob was shortly after his arrival in Ponchatoula. My husband's brother had died, and Bob agreed to conduct the service. This included riding down to Metairie, conducting the service, and returning to Ponchatoula for the burial. As my husband's brother owned an antique shop, the van used to transport flowers had only front seats, leaving the back for furniture. As luck would have it, I was chosen to ride in a lawn chair in the back with the flowers. You know what's coming, don't you? Whew. My husband, Robert, was driving, and Bob was navigating, so to speak. We made a sharp turn, and my chair flipped, putting me in the stepwell by the door, legs over my head. Bob, being in a rather touchy predicament, was not sure how to handle helping me up. But finally he turned around and lifted me bodily out of the well, and after that introduction, is it any wonder we became fast friends? Bob and Joanne are an important part of our family, and we wish them both well in your new adventure. And that goes for all the rest of you, of us too.
That was Jerry Berry, right? Where's Dipsy Ray? Here come. Yo, Dipsy. How are you doing? It's yours. Take over.
It is my duty to make a list of things that Bobby needs to do in the next 15 days. And I've already started. You're going to have to help me on this. I couldn't think of them all because after 40 DMT visits, you folks knew me. You know, I was always the guy that put the stuff on the wall. I never did write on the charts, you remember? So help me here. We say he's got to check his insurance policies, that's for sure. He's got to notify the Social Security. He's got to notify the IRS. He's got to update his will. What else has he got to do? Oh, don't you think I ought to buy some Geritol?
Change his address on his driver's license.
Driver's license. All right?
Finish packing. Finish packing.
Joanne's already done that.
William's concerned about his office.
Okay. You think you ought to get some hair call? He probably helped invent it. That's a long time ago, wasn't it? Is that it?
We need some golf lessons, bad.
Golf lesson.
Bad.
fishing bait. I'll put fishing gear on that. How about that?
I think Bob needs to get some new golf buddies.
Send his vacation schedule together.
Vacation schedule. I can help him do that. Yeah, it'll start June 15th and be over May 31st.
All right.
How about that?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right? Okay. All right. I'm going to give it to Rosemary so it'll be in your scrapbook. You know what they want to do.
I see Tiny Joyce skipping up here. What do you want, Tiny Joyce?
I want you to invite him up here.
You want me to invite Dr. Potter to... Dr. Potter, would you please come up here and help Tiny Joyce?
Sure. I do it all the time.
Just have a seat.
Okay.
He's been having a real hard time with this retirement deal. So we're going to help him let go, okay? We're going to toss some things tonight, okay? So hold on. Well, first of all, the inbox is never empty. Throw that away. Never have to worry about that again. Never have to worry about it. I told you I'm having trouble letting go. All those files that, need filing, just throw those away. Handbook for district superintendents. The dictaphone. I'll never have to worry about this again. We're going up fast here. We can do it.
It died about a month ago. This is before I did.
Use your imagination here. The phone that's always ringing. Always.
All right.
You don't have to answer if your caller ID can string it off. This represents your black book. Oh no, you can't live with that. That little black book that he always has to check. Just throw that out, sleep late, just do what you want to do.
I never had a little black book till I became a district superintendent. That's the honest to God truth. But I couldn't have existed without it.
And the Methodist calendar, your pastor will keep up with the important dates. One more thing you need to do. This gotta go.
Okay.
Okay, just take it off. So I planned for this. I asked Joanne to bring a special hat because you won't have to worry about, you're going on a budget now, so he will go for food.
That is a side of Joyce I have never seen.
The Bible, which Bobby does read, in the Old Testament, says there is a season to everything. Time to be born, a time to love, a time to work, and a time to retire, which is the time to do all the things for which there's never been enough time. You had the opportunity to write down on a 3x5 card some of your suggestions for Bobby. We can't all read them, but does someone, maybe about 3 or 4 of them, would you like to share with us what you've written down for Bobby to do? Yes, Danny Gleason.
Bobby should, during retirement, pay green fees for a golfing cart.
Pay green fee. I like that one. Bobby says he's going to have more money in retirement than he had when he was working. That's what he told me. Who are you?
Jack Odell, one of 2 people that were in the social, 36. I have a full card for you. I'll just read the highlights. Construct an Autobahn to test drive your new vehicle. And find a golf club that you can hit more than 180 yards.
Steve?
Take an assertiveness training. Learn to be more plain spoken.
He's going to work on those, I know. He'll have a whole lot more time. Yes?
Sing a country western song in Branson, Missouri.
Whoa. Cigarettes and whiskey? What is this?
Wine and whiskey and Wawa.
That's what Bobby sang in Munholland? That's why they moved him. Perfect DS material. Anyone else want to share your suggestions?
Whiskey and I have kind of a common theme here. We like the Bible to do whatever he wants to do, tempted by whatever Joanne wants him to do. So spend most of his time with grandkids.
All right. That sounds good. Will?
I think bungee jumping, every birthday off Texas Street Bridge, it'll be good for his stress level and his latent desire for notoriety.
All right. Anybody else would like to share with us? Yes, Mr. White.
Agree with me on everything.
Bobby, all these cards are going to be part of your scrapbook, so you can spend one Sunday morning while other folks are at church. You can read them, pray, pray for the people who wrote them. Now this is dangerous at this point. Bobby, do you have anything you would like to say? Oh no! Come on now. This is a chance to address this auspicious group.
This is the only chance I'm going to get.
This is it, brother.
Okay.
This is it.
Good. I just want to take a minute to thank all of y'all for coming. I certainly appreciate everyone that made the effort to come out tonight, and especially the money you had to pay in order to come. It's been a wonderful time, and I hope you have enjoyed it as much as Joanne and I have. And I continue to cherish your friendships, and we'll be here in the Shreveport area, but we'll be traveling around and expect to have a chance to visit with all of you from time to time, and we look forward to that. It's especially meaningful to me to have my family with me tonight. I think we're nearly all here. I'm missing a brother who lives up in Pennsylvania, but that's about the only one I'm missing from my immediate family. So we're really glad to have you all here, the family here. And my ministry has been a family ministry. The kids were as much a part of the ministry as Joanne and I were, in terms of the witness that we tried to make as a family for what we stood for, what we believed was important, what we thought was Christian. And it was always a great thrill to me and an encouragement to me, the kind of ways in which my whole family had a sense of what we were about. That's very, very meaningful for me.
Those of us who are ministers know how important our spouses are in our ministry. If it weren't for our spouses, many of us would have moved a long time ago. Joanne, we're grateful for your ministry. You have a gift not only of putting up with him, but more importantly, a gift of music. And think about all the children from St. Andrews to Munholland to the Shreveport District, all across this state, that have been a witness to your ministry with them. And we want to say a word of appreciation to you. And also, would you like to say something? Come on.
Many of you know that I'm a PK, that's a preacher's kid, as well as a PW, and said I would never marry a minister, but then I decided to do that. And when we were moving to New Orleans from being in Alexandria 2 years as associate, we crossed I had lived in New Orleans as a child when my father was the minister down there. And we were moving to a new part of New Orleans that wasn't even there when I lived there as a child. And we crossed the Industrial Canal, and I turned to Bobby and I said, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" And I thought, well, he's going to need some help. So, of course, I was having children, and we were having a family, and I wasn't working out of the home other than in the church. And I started giving him suggestions. Well, I think this would be a good idea, or that would be a good idea. Now, I don't know if you've had trouble with that or not in your dealings with him, but it doesn't work for me. I don't know how to do that very well. I'm not a good manipulator. It's all out front. So I found out very quickly that I had to have my own thing to do, outside the church even. I could do a lot in the church, but I had to be away also. So I did. I taught music in public schools. I went back to school and did that, and I considered that my ministry. I really did. And I have loved living all over Louisiana as a child and as an adult. And people have asked me through the years where my favorite place to live is, and I always say it's where I am. And that was always my home, where I lived at the time. So it's been great, and we'll have a lot of fun if the marriage survives the retirement.
We pray and we know that it will. If not, we have some rooms for Bobby in South Shreveport. Yeah, Spray says we have an appointment. You can go back to work. It's been a long time since you preached, hasn't it? Never mind. We have some special gifts to give to Bobby and Joanne, and you've changed. Ray Owens, our district lay leader, is going to come at this time and make these presentations.
I was tied up in this other stuff and didn't get to tell my story about my relationship with Bobby, and that's good. I got 2 extra cups of coffee so I could stay awake until 8 o'clock. But I have here a special gift, Bobby, from your family and friends. And I am very proud that I get to present this to you.
We also, Rosemary Day has been working on a scrapbook. In that scrapbook are letters that have been sent from people who could not be with us tonight. And there's some pictures. Bobby, there's one picture of you down in New Orleans. You have black hair, and you have this look on your face like you're about to eat nails. I've never seen that look before. But we want to thank Rosemary for doing this, and Bobby and Joanne, an opportunity for you to flip through. By the way, Bobby, I figure I better go ahead and tell you, I went ahead and deducted your tithe out of that gift. And we're going to send that to the annual conference for the contingency fund. Part of a gift also on behalf of Bobby and Joanne, you were charged $30 per plate tonight, weren't you? No? Oh, gosh. Well, anyway, part of the money that you paid tonight for being here and for this celebration will go to a mission project in honor of Bobby and Joanne. And we asked Bob what mission project he wanted that to go to, and it is going to the conference center. So you're participating in a gift of appreciation to Bobby and Joanne Potter for your presence tonight and for being a part of this celebration. And you know, Bobby's leaving William a lot of things to do. Y'all have already talked about those, haven't you? No. Well, just a word of appreciation to our Committee on District Superintendency Committee who helped plan this tonight. Earlier we had Lala here, and I don't know, there's some significance to all the things that we're wearing on our heads. Lala had question marks on her head. Now, some of you may be wondering why question marks. Betsy is our district missioner, and she's still trying to figure out what she's supposed to be doing. So that's why she had question marks. I have a golf ball on my head, and Bobby, I'm looking forward to playing golf with you. And a gift that... Sir? Yeah. Across the brim of this is Ping. P-I-N-G. Some people think that's the name of a golf club. But this stands for Potter in Need of God. So, Bobby. Is it big enough?
It didn't fit you and I both, I don't think.
Well, once you take the tee off and the ball and all the green, it ought to fit. Okay? Again, this has been a good time for us to celebrate Bobby and Joanne's ministry, and our annual conference has been blessed by Bobby's ministry, and it's not over with yet because he's still a part of our connection, and of course we're glad that they're making their home in Shreveport. Again, we're glad that you're here, and since I'm the only Telebobby left dressed, I can't circle myself up. But I would invite you to stand for our benediction. And I've called on one of our Telebobbies who has changed into his preacher outfit, Bob Townsend, to lead us in our benediction.
Yeah, this is what I look like when I'm not making an idiot out of myself intentionally. Joyce, what does your hat mean, by the way? Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you all, and all the best to you. Lord, we thank you for this evening and the celebration of our life and our faith and our ministry together. And as we've laughed and had a good time, and as we've celebrated Bobby's and Joanne's ministry amongst us, we pray that it might continue in us and through us and with us, and that as they go into retirement, you would indeed be a part of their lives and a blessing upon them, as they have been such a blessing to us and so many others. May you go with us as we go our separate ways, and may we always be in your service. In the name of the Christ. Amen.
Winky. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dipsy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Lala. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Po. The sun is setting in the sky. Teletubbies, say goodbye.